What's up, YouTubers? So before we get started with this video, on Max Unboxing, they're going to be talking about which was the more exciting fight, the fight between Gervonta Davis or the fight between Teofimo Lopez. So let's see what they have to say about that.
Andre, where do you think Tank Davis is? I understand, I think he's the most exciting fighter in the world, partly because he's vulnerable. But where do you think he is in his development as a boxer?
Nah, I wouldn't say Gervonta Davis is the most exciting fighter. There's a lot of other fighters that are exciting too, like Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, Canelo Alvarez, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, obviously Wilder. There's a couple of guys that are exciting to fight, not just Gervonta Davis.
It's tough, Max, because how can you convince a fighter to work on his boxing ability and work on his skill when the people, the masses, the fans, casual fans and hardcore fans have fallen in love with you because of your punch, what he delivered against Leo Santa Cruz the other night. So I think he's on his way. I think he got, hit a little bit too much for me in the Leo Santa Cruz fight. And you can't argue with the knockout. It's blockbuster, Sports Center top 10. He earned that. Many people had Leo winning that fight. So it's almost, even though the fight was still, midway through, he sort of came from behind and got that knockout the way that he needed to. But it's hard for me not to think long term. If you're facing a guy that you can't land that punch against, now you got to go in your bag of tricks and you got to show some different dimensions. But
exactly.
If you're not working on those dimensions, that's what my concern is.
And Andre,
Yeah, so definitely, I think Gervonta Davis did a great job knocking out Santa Cruz. But at the same time, at the end of the day, it's about winning. So Gervonta Davis has to tweak his game a little bit and not necessarily give the crowd what they want. Hey, then that's what it is, because it's about winning at the end of the day. Who cares what anybody thinks about you, what the fans think about you, as long as you keep on winning.
See multi-dimensions from him. He just didn't stick with it. There were times where his superior speed
That's
and
my
boxing
point.
ability was winning the fight. Got the fight back under control when Santa Cruz started to hit him. But
he really did, because about the fourth, fifth, and sixth round, I was really starting to worry. I was like, man, this is really starting to get neck and neck here. Santa Cruz is definitely taking care of business, but Gervonta Davis just ended it. Said, that's it.
getting hit. And it reminds me of you throughout your career. You would see other fighters being matched in ways against good fighters, but fighters who weren't capable of really pushing them. So they're matched in ways that made them look more exciting than you. And then you would be criticized, Andre's not exciting enough, he's not scoring knockouts. But then again, you were beating the very best fighters in your weight class, winning the super middleweight tournament, fighting Kovalev, stuff like that. So I'm thinking about what just happened in boxing. Teofimo Lopez, as a 4-1 underdog, beats Lomachenko in an exciting fight. But Tank Davis fights Santa Cruz. He's a 6-1 favorite and scores a much more spectacular kind of finish in the knockout. Who do you think, all those things considered, and I'm not saying this because we're on ESPN Top Rank, this fighting on ESPN, let me lead Andre to a conclusion that makes this network look good. No, I mean it. I'm bringing up the question. Who had a bigger star-turning performance?
So I would say Gervonta Davis because of that huge knockout. Teofimo Lopez, he went the distance, but if it wasn't for Lomachenko getting to a late start, he didn't start fighting really until like the 5th or 6th round. So if he would have stopped being so cautious in the earlier rounds, he might have been able to catch up to Lopez, if not beat Lopez. I don't mean to take anything away from Lopez, because that was a great fight, an absolutely great fight. But, Lomachenko took way too long to get activated and to really start his game plan. And the last round really won it for Lopez, because he really beat up Lomachenko in that final round. So, I don't know. I think Gervonta Davis, his knockout is going to be a little bit more better, even though it was neck and neck for the 4th, 5th, and 6th rounds during the Gervonta Davis Santa Cruz fight. So, let's continue.
Listen, for me, it's no question it's Teofimo Lopez. I mean, Teo beat a guy who was arguably the best fighter in the world. He wasn't my number one, but on many people's pound-for-pound list, he was the number one guy. So that's why he's not only in the conversation, but he's in that middle spot. Some people have him 4, some people have him 5, and he put on a complete performance and he showed more nuance. That's my pick in terms of who put on a more star-studded performance. But if you talk, a lot of this stuff is subjective. You brought me into the equation. The same thing was said about Pernell Whitaker. The same thing was said about Floyd Mayweather. So casuals obviously the way the fight ended with Gervonta Davis is, Sports Center top 10, and casuals are going to be talking about that stuff, the way that knockout ended, around the water cooler, for a week. But again, you have to look at the total performance. And again, this isn't me saying who's better than the other fighter. The question was who put on the more star-studded performance. You got to go with the guy who beat arguably the best fighter in the world. As far as I know, Leo was on nobody's pound for pound.
Right, and by the way, put Teo in with Leo, you'll see a more impressive, kind of more dominant, not impressive, but dominant performance out of Teo than against Lomachenko, and vice versa. Put Lomachenko in with Tank and see what happens. The thing about Tank is, because he is fast, because he can box, and because he can hit like that, he doesn't have to always dominate an entire fight the way other guys do. He is going to be, I say, well, he looked vulnerable. He's going to be very difficult to beat. He has a lot of ways to beat you. Anyway, another guy.
I agree.
With a lot of ways